Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. It is a day. Tuesday. Yeah. Here we are. What's new?
Literally nothing. I mean, well, when people are listening to this, they're going to have heard the Babyface and Teddy Riley battle that would have already happened, hopefully.
Okay, so, assuming it happened, how was it?
It was so good. The sound worked.
How were the memes?
The memes were not as good as the first time.
How was the dress?
The dress was casual.
How was the reaction to the battle?
Very muted.
Yeah.
It was 3 people in the Instagram live.
Yeah.
That was it.
What a weird experience.
I know.
You go from 400,000
down to 3.
3.
Crazy.
Who were the 3?
It was
Tyrese.
Tyrese. It was right before Tyrese threw the tile in.
I think that one of the cool things, I'm just going to be honest, one of the cool things about doing 30-something episodes
in 30-something
days,
yeah,
and doing 3 guests every day was the bigger idea of 90-plus guests. I think it is sort of a flex. It's like, yeah, look at what we've done. That's sort of a show-off moment for us, right?
Yeah.
Not everything is smooth, I think people should understand.
No. So yesterday we were supposed to, I went to sleep knowing that we had this episode locked.
This one today.
No.
And then it wasn't.
Well, no, it's that Division, OG Chase B, and Erica Ramirez, we called them at the last minute.
Yeah.
And we made this thing happen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it was just like it was 11 a.m. and I was just like, we'd gotten canceled on by somebody else who's coming on later this week.
Yep.
And
so rescheduled is the proper term.
Postponed.
Whatever.
It was sort of like the Instagram Live, right?
Yeah.
It got pushed a couple of days.
Yes.
But it was so disheartening, and you feel like you're letting down so many people.
Yep.
And
you feel let down. We counted on something, and then it was like not the same. But I think out of all of this, what we've shown is you just sort of regroup.
Yep.
You rethink and you make a few more phone calls. And here we are. This is a great episode today. But Jeff, before we get there, we should talk about Patreon.com.
Patreon.com/itsthereal. That's where we have set up shop, which is to say that it's somewhere where our listeners who fuck with us.
Yeah.
Not listeners who are more passive.
No.
But listeners who fuck with us and who are with us day in and day out, and they're just like, I believe in this thing.
Yeah.
I believe in these 2 guys who are doing all these interviews, and I like hearing what these guys get from all these artists and personalities, where I can make these investments in them. And so if you go to patreon.com/itsthereal, sign up for one of our tiers. We've got a bunch of them from $2 to way more.
Yep. And
we appreciate everyone.
With that,
yeah,
we will gift you things, T-shirts, stickers, private Zooms. We did one this weekend. I do want to say, too, I like that point, what you're saying about like the real people who fuck with us, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there are people who come and go, but there are so many people who have listened to 307 episodes of A Waste Time with It's The Real, who are there day in and day out with us and want to be a part of this. And those are the people who we see over at patreon.com/itsthereal. And we appreciate those people. And we appreciate the ones who, show up here and there.
Yeah, but it's degrees, right?
Yeah.
Like, I fuck with you if you are helping me pay my rent. Fuck with you a little bit harder than people who are not,
Listen, thank you to everybody who helps keep the lights on around here, who helps keep food on the table, and who helps getting these guests on the show through keeping us going every day.
Yes.
So, Jeff, on the podcast today.
On the podcast today is Division.
Yo, Daniel and 1985.
I wasn't expecting... Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting any of this.
We weren't expecting this episode to happen.
Yeah, but no, I was very grateful that we were able to make this happen.
Yeah.
Super last minute.
Listen, if there's anyone to talk to about their album, it's these guys who have created a masterpiece out there. We waited 3 years for this, and it is a pleasure to talk to 2 people at the pinnacle of their short career so far. But 3 albums in, and this one is just like out of here. I mean, it's fantastic. We talk about a lot of what went into it, a lot of the realities of putting your album out during a quarantine, not being able to celebrate it together, and the creative process. And I think that was really cool. Shout out to Division.
Yes, OG Chase B.
Yo, that's our guy. That's our guy for 10 years or so.
We did the Travis Scott's first interview.
Yep, we did that. I like how you called him the Travis Scott.
I meant the shoe.
But we called OG Chase B, and we talked to him about being in Houston. His mother asking him to come down there after living in New York. Maybe it's safer down there. The realities of how they're handling COVID-19 in Texas, which is way different than in New York. And we talked to him about his upcoming music and a lot more. Shout out to Chase B.
And Erica Ramirez, she has a dog.
Well, I like that. That's the number one thing. Well, Erika Ramirez, dog owner.
She is a dog owner. The dog, Diego, pees on flowers.
Oh, I thought you were going to go into the fact that you wanted Diego
to be named Rick Ross.
Yeah. So Erika Ramirez, dog owner, also does Illy Magazine.
Yep.
But
ILY, short for I Love You.
Yep. Dog owner, though.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, and she has a Patreon, and you should contribute to that as well.
And she's a great person and has great...
There's a lot of great stuff about this episode. Let's not shower it all on Erica. Let's put it on the flowers.
Here's what we're going to do first, Jeff. Mm-hmm. We're going to get on the phone with Division. Daniel, 1985. What's happening, guys?
What up?
What's going on?
What's good? How are you guys doing in these just unprecedented times?
I guess I'll start. This is 1985 talking. We just released our album a few days ago.
Yep.
So for me, it hasn't seemed any different because the last maybe 2 months, maybe like 6 to 8 weeks, I was already quarantined, just working on the album, just kind of like in go mode every day, doing 14, 15-hour days, just, putting all my focus into that. So when everybody else started saying they're going crazy, I was like, I don't know, I don't get it. Why? What's the difference? Because I literally hadn't been leaving my house for like weeks at a time.
Yeah, but it's got to be weird to finish an album and then not be able to like go out and like hear it in clubs and to
hear it in cars driving by.
Yeah, the way that like it's meant to be heard. So like that's got to be like a weird thing, right?
It's super weird. I think a lot of the feedback from a lot of people is just like, I'm so used to listening to Division with another person or in a certain setting. I'm now just here by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I'm seeing is people are finding ways to kind of like have their own like in-house jam with it anyways. Like people, I've seen a lot of people, girls and stuff, like decide they're going to get up and get dressed and pour up a drink and turn on the album over the past couple of days. So I guess they're just trying to recreate the experience on their own.
I think there's always something special when a verse comes in, when you have a feature come in. Does it still seem like just sort of like mind-blowing to get something back from Buju Banton?
Oh, come on. That was a flooring, legendary experience. And the crazy thing about it is how fast he did it too. Like he was very much a situation where, he just kind of heard what we did, loved it, and got right to work and sent it, completed his part. So it was really crazy. Like,
were you guys together when you pressed play for the first time?
Were we together when we pressed play?
No. Daniel had it first, and he's like, "Yo, I don't know if I'm hearing this right. Here, I'm just gonna text you something." He's just like, he's like, I don't even want to explain it. Just listen to what I text you. And he texted it to me. I was like, "Yo, is this for real?" I was like, "Yo, like what?" Definitely our favorite, like, legendary reggae artist, probably that's still with us.
Yeah,
on both of our parts, I think.
Well, guys, a few weeks ago, we were on the phone with Tanisha Scott, who obviously, Toronto, obviously like Jamaican, obviously, of that.
Shout out Tanisha, man.
Yeah, and
family.
We were talking about growing up in Toronto in the late 90s, early 2000s, like era of different parties in the basement and like that whole Sean Paul vibe or whatever. What was growing up in Scarborough like for you guys, and what was your experience in terms of like, Jamaican Toronto vibes?
I mean, it's a different era of it, but it was the same shit, man. Like a lot of us have that West Indian background. whether it be Jamaica or Guyanese or Trini and all that. There's plenty of different cultures in the city, but our areas in Scarborough that I came up in, and the environment was a lot heavily Jamaican influence. You can walk around and talk to somebody that might look Asian or might look white or whatever else. They'll still understand like the basics of patois. It's the whole city kind of has a little bit of that touch to it. So those parties, that food, that culture, that talk was all very second nature. And both me and 85 both come from Jamaican households, Jamaican mothers and Jamaican cooking and that culture. So to have somebody like Buju jump on our track was
crazy.
Just like yeah. Every restaurant that in the city we feel like owes us an extra side of food at this point.
I was wondering, so Do It Well is on your first album, Do It Well Part 3 is on this one. What happened to Do It Well Part 2?
Yeah, that's the question.
It definitely does exist.
Oh no, I know it exists. I don't want to know where it is.
I'm wondering if it actually exists or if they missed it. No, they haven't missed it. It's not another song. Like I've seen a lot of people say, like, is it this song? Maybe disguised as the second part. No, it's a song that we haven't released yet. Yeah. We're still figuring out how we kind of put that one out there, but it definitely.
Star Wars?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Star Wars, where it's like you got certain episodes at different times, You might get a different part of the piece of the puzzle at different times. It's that kind of idea behind it.
I fuck with it.
Yeah. Another one of our favorite guests on this new album is Jessie Reyez. And we had her down here before the quarantine, and we sat down with her for an hour and a half, and her spirit is just like unlike basically anybody that we've ever met. She's just very, very special.
Like no other.
Yo, she's so smart and funny and
warm
and in control of who she is, you know? Do you guys find that the same whether you're in the studio or just seeing her like outside?
Oh, 100%. Shout out to Jessie, first of all. I knew her first, but me and 85 have both known her for years.
That feels like a flex. That feels like I like a dig that you're like making. I knew her first. Got it.
No, because the relationship started with me, but at the end of the day, 85 and her team and our teams have always, the connections of, they run deep, and for sure, 100%, she is who you're seeing there. She's so alive, so smart and funny and fun and playful, but still, serious and has an agenda and has goals and aspirations. It's crazy. And I think 85 might have even been the one that suggested her for the song. So that's really the flex.
Yeah. Shouts to him.
I think that song is just, it's written so smart in all ways, and it's nice to have someone who can like speak the same language as you, singing at the same time,
Yeah, that's what made that song so special for us, because we had always wanted that perspective on it, but it's not like you can just ask anybody to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you guys are sort of known as like very press averse, right? Like you don't do many interviews. But I feel like with this album, you guys are starting to break out of your comfort zone in that respect. So, I mean, like, Daniel, like, what was it like to get the phone call from the Joe Budden podcast? Like, what was going through your head when that came in, when they said, like, hey, it's Rory?
I was just kind of thinking, oh, okay, here we go. Because I know how they do. I've watched the podcast before, and I know how they do. They surprise people with phone calls. And, I was just kind of like, all right, here we go. Where are we going this? I don't know if it was going to be a topic about, relationships or anything. But, it was about the album. And, shout out, anybody that was taking it and loved the album, and I appreciate their opinions on the music.
Have you guys always understood the media side to this, where a rollout plan will constitute certain things, and like a big portion of that is like the phoners to radio stations, is getting on podcasts, is like showing your face? Or were you essentially like okay with yourselves taking the stand where it's like, no, we'll let the music speak for itself and that's it?
I think it's a bit of both for us. You know, I would say we're still understanding it because we haven't done as much media as other artists for sure. So we're still learning that side of it. But we also, at the beginning, we're just like, you know what, let the music speak. And then as our music voice grows, our actual voices will grow more. Now we're doing a bit of both. So it's kind of like going hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think also, you know, September 5th was a very special album for just so many people. Obviously, for finding you guys the first time, Hallucinations was just a monster of a track. I think that a lot of people had this idea where it's like, okay, OVO should have this monster behind them and the whole building should move in a certain way. But I think when you look at what you guys have done, what the whole OVO has done in terms of like letting the music, you know, find its audience and people really like become this cult sort of you know, following? Listenership, yeah. And allow that to organically grow. That's been special. It's sort of like what Dreamville does, you know, where they're not sort of shoving things down your throat. It's like, let it build and build. So by your third album, what was the biggest like learning experience you guys took going into this whole thing and in releasing this project now?
I think making everything feel natural and like making it always about the music first, you know, because as we have been getting more into press and the media side of things, you can definitely get swallowed by that. You know, there's so much that you don't think about when you're just in artist mode. You know, the first couple albums, we were just in artist mode. We were only like in the studio at the tour. So now there's a whole other side of things that now that we just like go with it naturally and let it flow, it's been cool to see how it grows in different ways.
Yeah, for sure. And on this project, you know, you're speaking about, you know, the OVO side of things. It's kind of like, you know, this album we actually, you know, got a chance to really work with, you know, the team kind of a bit more, you know, getting Party. Shout out to Party, by the way.
Yeah.
He came through and killed on Friends, which, you know, was even an assist with Drake, because Drake helped out on that one. That was kind of a concerted effort between, you know, Drake, Party, and us. And you know, it was a play that we wanted to make, because we're like, you know, this time around we want people to really be able to experience us doing different things and having different angles and understanding that there's way more to the vision than we've shown. We're just slowly opening the door for you guys. Yeah,
I mean, so obviously touring is not a thing right now, and so the question is like, are you going to be doing like some online performances? Are you going to be doing music videos? Like how are you going to continue to roll this out so it doesn't just like exist here and now?
We're still kind of putting every piece of that puzzle together, just because kind of, you know, this whole quarantine thing kind of came out of the blue.
Yeah.
But we definitely plan to still be, you know, still interact with the fans, still find ways to be creative and get things to them and connect with them and, you know, really build out this album. So, you know, it's still week one. It's not even a whole week yet for us. So we're kind of just, we're pacing it and planning and strategizing as it goes.
85, I know that we were particularly excited when we first heard that you were collaborating with Justin Timberlake. Obviously, you guys put one song out, but we understand that there's a bunch more in the tuck. What was your experience like working with someone like Justin?
Oh, man, Justin was the greatest. I always knew he was really good. I didn't know he was as, like, hands-on as he is in the studio. Like, he writes, he produces. Like, he's such a musical mind that I don't even know if people can really see from what he does, because he does so many different things. But in the studio with him, he's phenomenal. And yeah, you're right. We definitely have at least 4 or 5 other songs that we're trying to figure out the best way to like reveal those tracks. He's been in Trolls mode for a little bit. And even with Trolls, like, he does so much on that. I didn't know he was as involved as he is, but he basically like writes the whole soundtrack to the Disney musical that it is, you know?
Crazy.
So, like right now, obviously everything's a little bit different because of the quarantine, but we had already talked about like right now is when he was supposed to be going through the release of Trolls, and then we were going to get back in the studio. I'm not sure how soon that's going to be, but we definitely exchange ideas back and forth, and we text all the time. So it's been really dope.
Guys, I'm just curious. I'm sure, having worked together for so long, you guys have a shorthand. You two, Daniel and 85, have a shorthand when you're in the studio. I'm sure that you've also worked with other people who are very prolific and very smart, but may not have the speed and the ease at which you guys work together. Is there a situation, and you do not have to name names, but is there a situation where you've worked with an artist and you felt like, man, like I thought this was going to go like really smoothly and we would just like hit it off and produce something in like an hour's time, and it really did not go that way?
I don't think so for me. I mean, I haven't been in as many rooms as 85. 85, obviously, he's been, he's a super producer, been in with a million different people. I'm sure he might have a story. Maybe he's got a story, but I don't think I've been in with anybody that I've kind of been like, man, I really hoped that this would have gone a completely different way. I don't think. You, Pete? What do you think?
Yeah, I've been in one or two sessions. I won't name the artist, but a lot of that, it comes from like I think the new way of a lot of artists working is just them being in their own space most of the time at home by themselves. So it's not like they're necessarily used to having a producer or just anybody in the room with them, So when I do go there and try to collaborate in the room, like on the spot in the moment, there's definitely been artists that you can tell they're just not familiar with that. So it throws them off. And I get it, like everybody has their own process.
For sure. And also...
And every day in the studio... Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, one thing that a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but a lot of the fans don't realize, every day in the studio, you don't make magic, Some days you're just in there just having a conversation that might lead to a record 3 days later. Sometimes you're in there just listening to songs. Sometimes you only get one line out of you, Every day isn't, we sit there and we hit it off. Even with me and 85, some days we go to the studio and before we realize it, we spent the past, 5 hours talking about a situation or something like that. So, that's just how the studio goes as creators,
No, for sure. And I think especially now when you have people who are isolated and not amongst other human beings, a lot of people are grasping at the chance to do something, but also the reality that maybe creativity is not there for them in that moment. And you talk to people who are like, yo, I really, really, really want to create, and some people who are just like, no, I don't want to force it. It'll eventually come. So when you guys are taking 3 years to put out a project, I'm sure that you've gone through those days where it's just like, let's not force it, let's let it naturally just flow.
Oh, for sure. And the thing with us too, what a lot of people don't realize is that the big gap between even our albums, we didn't even notice it because we were on tour. We were touring crazy. Our whole schedule was just show because the live part of Division is such a big thing with us.
Yeah.
It's a very big part of what we do. For anybody that hasn't been to a Division show, so the amount of touring that we did kind of made the time fly by differently in our eyes. Before we realized that we had, DMs filled with, yo, when you guys coming back? And we're like, oh, shoot. So it was a lot of that, really.
Are you guys together right now? Or are you, not? I mean, because it's got to be very weird during a quarantine to not be able to celebrate your album coming out together or to have, that's a very real thing, right?
Yeah, well, we have the kind of relationship and the chemistry that's like we've made songs off of voice note to each other before. So this is nothing new for us really. I mean, he's probably like what are you, like 20 minutes away from there now? Maybe?
Yeah.
15? Yeah, it's not.
I think for us, we're so used to kind of just like getting it done anyway when we have to get it done. So even right now, the conversation, like with our whole team, is like, what next? We've done the whole build up to the album, and this would have been when we started the press tour. We didn't really get to do any release parties or anything like that, but we still technically have to fulfill the album rollout. So where do you go from there? And I think we're all just learning. Like every day is going to be a new revelation as far as, you know, what this pandemic means to how we consume music and how we can somehow connect with fans, and how do you put on a show? You know, I saw Erika was putting on shows from her, I guess it was her house.
Yeah,
you know, she had like a full band in the house. You know, so there's like all of those conversations. Like, well, what next? If you can't tour for the next, who knows how long? Do you make your fans wait for that long, or do you somehow figure out ways to, you know, reconnect outside of just having the album on streaming platforms?
Or do you go like to each fan's house one by one and just perform it for them?
Yo, have you guys been as invested in the Versus Instagram battles as everyone else in the world is?
Yeah,
a few of them, yeah.
Okay,
I can't wait to get the Teddy and Babyface again.
Well, if it happens,
I'm definitely gonna try and be there.
Like, what if it doesn't happen again? What if the sound is again all fucked up?
Oh my god, yo, if that doesn't happen again, oh my god, they can't afford that. They gotta figure that shit out. So go in your cars, open up your Spotify's or your Apple Music, and play your shit. Because otherwise, yeah, like everybody's gonna be disappointed. But we're definitely gonna be in that one tonight.
Like, can you imagine the feeling? I'm sorry, just the feeling of just like starting the battle and your sound being all jacked up, and there's 200,000 people in there just roasting you.
Oh my god! Well, then it got up to 400,000.
Yeah,
you know.
I will say that the jokes from Teddy's mishaps is like some of the best stuff that I've seen online in a while.
For sure.
It's incredible. It's incredible material.
It is. I wish that Babyface would show up tonight dressed like Teddy was the other night, just to start it off. It would be incredible. Well, listen, guys, congratulations on just a tremendous piece of art. This is something that, regardless of whether you guys realized it was 3 years or not, it was a long time in the making, and a lot of us are just over the moon about how it was put together sonically, lyrically, guest-wise. Everything is just A++, you know? And we really appreciate you guys. We're sending our love to you and yours. Take care of yourselves. Stay indoors. And hopefully we'll see you in real life down the line.
Thank you. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for having us.
We'll talk in a bit.
No doubt. Take care. Jeff, now let's get on the phone with our friend Chase B. Chase!
What up?
Yo, what's up, y'all?
Yo, what's happening? How are you?
I'm bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, shouldn't you be playing like Fortnite right now?
Man, I'm not good at that game at all. I wish I was, but I'm pretty trash at that shit.
Yo, Chase, does this happen to you as much as it happens to us, that people put that clip from basically Travis's first interview like ever?
Oh, yeah.
Like all the time in our timeline. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Of course. Well, you were there.
Yeah.
Right. Apparently.
Yeah. But I'm just curious as to whether people are just like, yo, I can't believe this happened. It's like, yeah, it did.
Yeah. You know, it's Travis used to smile.
Chase, given that you are putting out music, have you been especially creative in the quarantine, or have you just been like, you know, struggling to focus and figure out like what your
have you found your rhythm?
Man, yeah, definitely found a rhythm. I'm like pretty happy that I can have this like time off. It does come in like waves though, you know, like sometimes like when it first started and everything, I was like literally every day probably making like 7-8 beats a day, you know, just like, you know, taking fucking inspiration from everything and everywhere, and all the ideas that you've had like stocked up in your brain for, you know, whoever knows how long or whatever. And then you just have those days where it's like, man, I did this shit yesterday, you know, I know I can do it again tomorrow and next week, and you know, so it's just there's sometimes you just want to like sit down and not do shit, and then there's other times where you're just like, oh, let me take the advantage of this time, you know. So but for the most part, I've been like really productive. So
well, I mean, like when you look back on the beats that you've made inside, how many would you say are good and like up to par for what you do?
Man, shit, definitely like a good majority. Just because the time that I had to like just put so much detail into it, you know, like I feel a lot of times like you have like a time crunch, you're kind of just like rushing shit out, or just, you know, just fucking, you know, just doing shit to for the repetition of it, you know.
Yeah. I just do shit for the clout, to be honest.
Same, bro. Who doesn't? To be honest.
Yo, Chase, it's funny. We've spoken to a lot of people over the last month who have said that this quarantine. Look, there's a lot of really devastating stuff that's happening in the world. I think they're choosing to look at like the bright side of it, which is a lot of people we've spoken with have been on the road for quite a long time, right? And they're like, yo, I finally get to like sit down and focus and be with family and like just take that pressure of living in a hotel for like, you know, night after night after night and all that stuff. That's put to the side and they're at home. Do you find that as well? Because you've been traveling quite a bit over the last decade as well, you know?
Right, yeah. It kind of sucks that it's at the cost of a fucking global pandemic, but you know, I kind of realized, like, you know, if I wasn't like a traveling DJ, this pretty much would be what I would be doing, you know, just kind of at home working on music, watching movies and shit. You know, I don't miss outside too much, you know, definitely not as much as other people do.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, it's definitely a blessing to just be able to just sit down. Like, I've never been home this long, you know, since like high school. So,
yeah. Well, where are you right now? Are you in New York? Are you?
I'm in Houston. Yeah, I got here maybe like 3 weeks ago. So I was in New York for like the first couple weeks of it, and then I was one of those guys that just got on the plane just because I wanted to come down here. And my mom was like, "I don't know why you want to stay in New York. Like, this is epicenter." You know?
Well, she's right.
You just gotta do it. Right? She's definitely right. She's been watching the news for sure, and sometimes you just gotta do what your mom wants you to do. So I was like, fuck it, you know, I got on the plane.
Well, what was that plane ride like? I mean, like, cause if that was 2 weeks into it, it must have just been empty, right?
It was kind of weird. I thought it was gonna be like completely empty. So I got to the airport and it was just like a sad story, man. It was like, obviously all the fucking food spots were closed. I was at Newark, just FYI.
Yeah.
And it was just like everybody was like afraid to even, you know, like fucking bump into one another. You know, it was like super sad to just see like the disconnect with everybody. And then so you get to the gate and everyone's like standing like 6 feet apart to get on the plane. And but it wasn't like an empty flight because now, you know, usually like from Jersey to Houston there's probably what, like 8-9 flights a day direct, you know. And now there's like 2. There was like one at like 9 in the morning, there was one at like 1 p.m. or something. So I guess, you know, those people are kind of like spread thin when it comes to flights. But a lot of the people on there were fucking like crew members and shit.
Oh,
and
that makes sense. Yeah.
When it was like the first day of this new rule that the governor put in place for Texas, where if you fly in from certain states or whatever, you gotta like basically
you have to self quarantine for 2.
Self quarantine. And so like they made me fill out this paper with like my address on it and like my driver's license number and all this shit. And
did they take your temperature?
Not at all. It was just something saying that I wouldn't leave my crib for 14 days.
Wow.
And so I'm in the crib like, yo, are they really about to, like, I didn't want to like go out to eat and like, yo, getting the food and shit like that, because I'm like, what if they really come and I'm not here?
Yeah.
And I get like 6 months in jail or some shit.
That would be the worst.
Talk about like a lot of time sitting around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yo, you can make so many beats.
So you travel back home. Has it been just like quiet down there as well? Like we know what it's like up here. You walk the streets.
Yeah.
Like we only go out like at midnight to go get groceries. You know, because we got 24-hour spots around here. We don't have to go out during the day, and that's honestly like a good thing. What is it like down in Texas right now?
Man, I'm not gonna lie, shit is
the same.
Shit is pretty fully functional right
now.
Oh
my god,
man. Yeah. I don't know how good or bad of a thing that is, but there's definitely like there was even like traffic the other day. I was like, all right, somebody's not following the rules.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, it's definitely, you know, you can feel it. Like it's not like people just sitting down at restaurants and going to bars.
Are people wearing masks?
Yeah, for the most part. Like you go to a grocery store and people are wearing masks, and then there's people that just, you know, are just caring about. So, but I guess like the governor said, I guess things aren't, you know, like the numbers aren't.
Not there yet.
Yeah. So
why does it sound like Chase is about to do like a walkthrough at the club?
Exactly right. Yeah, I got a gig next week. I just bring my own mic and shit.
Yo, having been like a veteran of a lot of gigs in Vegas, like what do you think like that town is like just basically shut down?
Man, I want to see it, to be honest. I was thinking about that shit the other day. I want to go just see like what Vegas is like right now.
No lights.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that shit.
Well, actually, when you were in New York, like you live close enough to Times Square that you could have walked over there. Like, did you? What did you see when you were in New York?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I probably didn't leave my apartment like at all. I'll wake up every day and I run like 2.5 miles like down the West Side Highway.
Yeah, which
is basically like for me like down to like 14th Street or a little bit further than that.
Yeah, that must have felt like Legend.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing in New York, it was like since all everybody's fucking equinoxes and shit are closed.
Yeah.
Outside was like a gym, so you walk outside and there would be people fucking doing their stretches over here, people like doing their little like fucking calisthenics and shit over there. It would be mad people outside in the morning working out and shit.
And you just gotta avoid them, yeah.
Yeah,
but Chase did hurdles, right?
No, I couldn't do hurdles.
Oh.
Crazy. But I did run track, though.
Yeah.
That was me just trying to rub it in.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, right.
No, he did not do hurdles.
I wanted you to say it.
So now that you're staying back in Texas, is there any reason for you to travel, like right now?
Shit, I mean, so I have an apartment down here.
Yeah.
And, but it's like nothing. Like I got it in January just because me and Trav opened that store.
Yeah.
Out here.
Yeah.
And fucking what did I say? So I got a place there, so I wouldn't have to like get hotels and like stay with my mom all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
It was just way more convenient. And but there's like nothing in here. Like when I fucking got stuck here, like I didn't have pots, pans, plates, like no shit like that because I had just got it.
Oh.
I only spent so much time here, so. I'm pretty cool now. I got some shit off of like Amazon or whatever.
Oh, you did?
And some groceries and shit.
So you really like essentially moved in during the quarantine?
Basically, yeah. It was kind of tough, and I still don't have like close to enough shit that I would want to hear. But
I mean, do you feel at home down there?
What did you say?
Do you feel at home down there?
Kinda for the most part. Like in the apartment, not so much, but in Houston, of course.
I mean, like
all my like shit is in New York, so I definitely want to get back to that.
We spoke to Murder Beats a couple weeks ago, and he told us that he was looking to buy a house, and in the meantime, he had been living in an Airbnb, and then the quarantine hit, and he had to negotiate with the owner of the Airbnb to stay there, and so he's living he's living in this place that's not his, and there's like no stuff around for like the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but he can cook.
Damn.
Yes, he can cook. Yes.
So there is that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've been doing. I've been cooking a lot. I'm trying to learn some new dishes and shit.
Well, I mean, like, okay, what's your go-to dish? Like, what are you good at?
I'm pretty good. Breakfast is like a thing. You know what I'm saying? I can always like do the waffles and pancakes and eggs and bacon and shit.
Yeah.
That's always,
I really thought you were going to stop at waffles, and I was going to be like, jeez, this sounds rough.
I'll put those in the toaster, you know what I'm saying? Microwavable.
I know all the buttons. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what I've been making? Pastas, obviously. I really like fucking like lemon pepper wings and shit, so I've been trying to perfect that recipe over here.
Oh, you're cooking that at home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. No, I'm throwing down in here, man. That's like my goal is to come out of here with like 5 or 6 new dishes. You know what I'm saying?
So, obviously, like we said, we've known you for a very long time, and we were really excited when you signed your deal with Columbia. And in doing that, you've obviously been working on a lot of stuff. You put out Mayday. What does the near future hold for you in terms of like releasing your music?
Man, so me and my good friend Ashton, who's on Def Jam, we just dropped a song actually a couple of days ago called Casino. So that's out now. And me and Don have been working on a lot of music. Don Tyler,
man,
working on a whole bunch of shit. So we have a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Fucking I'm almost done with my album. So I feel like I definitely want to be outside when all that stuff is going down.
Yeah.
So I feel like
I was wondering,
that
like,
definitely plays a major part in some of these releases.
For
everybody.
Has the quarantine made you push stuff back? I mean, like, because you have put stuff out during a quarantine, and so like how are people responding to it? Like, and how do you gauge that?
Man, it's kind of tough. Like, I don't think it's pushed me back yet. I didn't like plan on dropping my album in like April or anything like that. So, it hasn't affected any of that. With Casino, we just always want that song to come out, so we dropped that. And it hasn't affected me too much. musically. If anything, I feel like, you know me, like I'm not a rapper.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
right.
yet.
Yeah.
Not hell.
Yeah. Things that Chase is going to work on in the crib are rapping and lemon pepper wings.
Yeah, that's it.
So, but yeah, it's just like, you know, everyone's in the studio. So like, I feel like everyone's production is like an all-time high. So, you know, getting features back and like whatever.
Well, that's good.
Definitely.
But also
accelerated.
being a DJ and being a popular like club DJ, that's like the perfect way to gauge whether, you know, a record really hits or if it needs like something else. And now no one has that.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the biggest blow to this shit is like, you know, I want to hear Casino in the Club super bad, and now that it's out, it's like, so then there's definitely certain songs that you want to wait until, you know, it's like, nah, this one has to be like when people are back out.
So who do you
like stuff is more like
who do you trust then to play it, and you're like, yo, all right, because you can go out again, you can drop something in the club and know that that's the one, but who's the person that you can send a song to by email and be like, yo, they co-signed it, then that's it?
Yeah, definitely just other DJs, you know, especially like the radio DJs around here, around Houston, you know, New York, you know, I'm always going to Clark for stuff.
Yeah.
You know, definitely I just feel like fellow producers and DJs is people, you know, you got to hear that, you know, they just kind of guide you through it.
Who do I have to murder to get on that list?
Hey, man, no comment on that.
Yeah.
All peace over here.
Yeah.
Chase, we've been checking in on obviously like the people that we call, but we want to know like how your family's doing, and have you been affected like either, you know, within your circles or tangentially by COVID-19?
I've had a couple family members actually that had it, but they all like recovered and shit, so I was all good with that.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Definitely very blessed and lucky to say that, for real. I know how crazy this shit is, especially my whole family's from the East Coast, so, you know, that shit's running wild over there. So, but yeah, everybody's recovered. Everybody's cool. We had like this big Zoom party fucking call on Easter and shit. So we all were talking, checking in on each other and shit. So that's all been good. I feel like, to be honest, man, I'm like, it's so scary that you know, you can be fucking asymptomatic. So
yeah,
I was doing a lot of flying in like those first, you know, before it actually became like a quarantine and before like the whole Rudy Gobert shit.
Yeah.
And all of that, like when people were like really skeptical about it, I was flying like basically every day, you know, still.
Like
well, I feel like the middle of March was like the real.
Yeah, it's when everything like really shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, so like in February, I was flying like every day. So I'm like, did I have this shit, or, you know, like
maybe
scary. Like even now,
you might have.
Exactly. Right. So even my mom now was like, "Are you coming over for dinner?" All this type of shit. I'm just like, I don't even know if I should go over there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's.
I don't know if I like went into a grocery store and got it. You know, my grandfather lives at my crib.
Man.
Or at my parents' crib.
No,
so
that shit's scary, and it's like, you know, this is the sacrifice that we all have to make, which is you don't see your immediate family.
Yeah, like we haven't seen our brother, we haven't seen our mom, we haven't seen our aunt. Like,
yeah, and we do Zooms.
Man.
Yeah, we do Zooms like, you know, every week. Yeah. When you did your Easter Zoom, did you get dressed up in pastels?
I did not actually, but I did. I had my backgrounds all set up.
Oh, nice.
So you know what I'm saying. I had all my like festive little wallpapers and shit behind me, so I was bringing the energy for sure.
Was it hectic? Were there like, you know, 80 people in your Zoom?
Oh no, my family, we keep it kind of chill. To be honest, it was probably like maybe like 12 of us.
Oh, that's good.
At a time and shit. Yeah. No, we keep it super chill around here. So
I don't know if it was like a family reunion.
Yeah, everybody's wearing matching T-shirts.
Yeah. My dad has this crazy ass beard now. I never even seen that nigga.
Oh
like
shit,
that. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Actually, wait, what are you gonna do about your hair?
Man, it's out here. You know what I'm saying? It's just growing exponentially by the minute. So I don't know.
Yeah, because like
maybe I'll just keep it after this shit.
Like, you know me, I've always had the same sort of haircut.
Yeah.
And I'm debating whether or not to get a rat tail.
Shit.
Or to
for the record, you did order clippers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get my barber to FaceTime me in, and then just tell me what to do
and coach you through it.
Yeah, no, like he said he would, and I was like, yo, you're the best. Like this is exactly what I needed. But yeah, it could be a rat tail. So like, you know, I think that like. You're working on cooking. I'm working on a rat tail.
It's very fashion forward, you know.
Cut your hair and then just watch TV for the next month and a half.
Yo, here's another thing that we know about Chase. Big into shoes, has a great shoe collection. Do you actually switch it up on a day-to-day basis now that like it's just you that you're impressing?
Kinda. Like I said, a lot of my shit is in New York. So,
True.
I'll probably have like, I don't know, probably like 15 pairs of shoes in Houston. And
yeah, but you got a store.
Right, yeah. There's definitely a store there. And I've gone over there a couple times just to be like, yo, I'm tired of wearing the same hoodie like every day. So I'll just go over there and grab some shit or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for a little grocery store runs, just like, why not just like put on a little, some type of whatever, just, for the sport.
Actually, have you
still got it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, make sure you still got it. Okay. Have you been recognized during quarantine?
Oh, just like by what, like civilians?
Yeah, by civilians. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in CVS the other day, and this kid was like, "Yo, you're not supposed to be out here, bro." I'm just like, hey, man, gotta get my toiletries, my nigga. Like, hygiene doesn't stop for anything.
Yeah, exactly. We were walking through Central Park the other day. Again, we don't normally go out during the day. We haven't really gone out at all, like during this whole thing. And we decided to like just take a walk to get some fresh air because we did like 6 phone calls in a row, and we like needed to get outside. And so we walked through Central Park and got recognized by somebody who works there, right? And we're both wearing our masks, and we're just like, how did you like see this? And then like other people, by the way, were just like, oh, we probably recognized like, glasses and curly hair. And then it's like, no, it was Jeff's Raiders jacket. And the guy was like, I've seen that on Instagram. So.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's locked in.
Yeah, major trip.
Listen, Chase, we just we're thrilled to hear your voice. We're thrilled to know that you're doing all right, that you're hanging out and hanging in down in Houston. Be well. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. We love you, and hopefully we'll see you on the other side of this, all right?
For sure, man. Love you guys, man. Well, we'll have a big COVID-free party in New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or we should do Easter Zoom.
Right? Yeah, I'll wear the pastels next time.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, y'all.
Jeff, let's get on the phone now with our friend, Erika Ramirez. Erika! What up?
Oh, my goodness. All this energy.
That's right.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing very well. How are you doing?
Today, I'm good. It changes every day. But today, I'm good, and that's all that matters.
Tell everybody what you've been working on while you've been inside.
So I guess like within the past month that I've been self-isolating, my routine hasn't changed that much because, as you guys know, I'm very much an introvert and stay indoors as it is. But I've been mostly trying to focus on something I could do creatively that is worthwhile for other people and myself to kind of like indulge in. Something that, I talked to both of you guys about is coming up with this newsletter that I have been advertising on Patreon as far as compiling resources and interviews about emotional wellness, and also just like on the spot audio bites of people talking about love. So I'm trying to compile all of that into a newsletter, and I'll be sending the first one at the top of the month. But I'm doing it through Patreon just because I feel like during these times you want to give, but also be very aware that you also need to take care of yourself. So I'm going that route for this project for Illy, but that's kind of mostly what I've been focusing on while I'm indoors, and also taking care of a puppy that makes me question if I want children.
Erika, you are one of the most creative people we know, one of the most introspective people that we know. How have those things come to heads while you've been in self-isolation?
So, I feel like there's something that, at least like, I know Jeff and I have talked offline as far as like intention. Like, I feel like we've always had intention. You guys, I, and other like friends that we know as far as creatives had this like in the back of our minds when we've been creating all this time. It's like not like what we do, but why we do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just been like amplified during isolation, because as alone as we are, we're also realizing that we are also somewhat like dependent on one another in order to kind of like survive whatever like mental and physical things that we're going through. So I feel like that is something that has been amplified as far as my creative process and like output has gone. It's just like, why am I doing this versus like, what am I doing? Like, what can I give and how can I give it in order to kind of just like calm whatever I can of other people. Like, I feel like my goal has always been to like create a safe space for vulnerability. So it's almost just like, how do I do that while I'm in isolation and also while others are in isolation?
Yeah.
We were talking offline about Patreon and how it's so hard to build a community on this new platform when you don't have like existing IP that people know and understand. So talk about the process of like building a newsletter over there as opposed to elsewhere.
I mean, and like you said, Jeff, like we talked about it, it's just so hard to like even consider asking for anything, like from anyone, like friends, family, like readership. Like, it's just such a brand new concept to me, but I feel like we've all talked about it, probably not enough. Clearly, the fact that we also need help as far as like creating stuff and like resources and all that. So like just the process of, I guess, the overthinking of creating something that other people would have to donate to get was like hard on its own. Cause it was just like, should I be doing this at this time? Like people, you know, are filing for unemployment. And then I think I just had to have like several talks with myself and with like you guys and other like creatives as far as just like, you want to create something that is worthwhile to like all parties involved. And in order for that to happen, like both of us need to feel good about it. And also like not having money or not having enough to survive is a real thing, especially with creatives. And it's been a real thing this entire time. I think it's now more emphasized because we're being honest with how like this economy is pretty shitty. So it's just like, I think that's like that's like the point of the process that was so hard for me, was to get over that and to be very like real with like what I need and what others need and what like to find a balance between those two. I feel like now that it's out on Patreon and I'm kind of like getting people subscribed and like all that is coming in, I feel really like almost like motivated because it's just like, okay, I'm not in this alone. I feel like that is something that I did not even realize would come, like that feeling of being on Patreon of just like this like community of like, I believe in this and you believe in this. That's like awesome. And it only motivates me more to like give more of like myself as far as like ideas and resources.
Erica, how on a daily basis do you maintain your mental stability? Like, do you reach out to people? Do you look forward to people reaching out to you? Are you texting more? Are you FaceTiming more? How do you stay in touch with other humans?
I'm definitely not FaceTiming as much as I probably should. Someone the other day FaceTimed and I didn't answer the call and they're like, you're not doing anything. Yeah. I'm like, that doesn't mean I have to answer your call. Like, I think we just have to be like very mindful that we do not feel, or most of us do not feel the same every single day or consecutively. So that also may mean that other people feel the same way. They sometimes don't feel like talking and sometimes they feel like just talking the entire day with people just to feel like some sort of connection. But I think that I'm not sure if I'm reaching out as much as I should be, but I feel like I am very aware as to why I'm not. And when I do speak to people, I try to like express why I haven't been in case they have been looking for me to reach out. I just want to be like very mindful of people's feelings, but also try to be mindful of mine. But also, like that is your character, right? Like you're not somebody who is always seeking attention. You're somebody who is very comfortable being by yourself and like, you know, letting people come to you. Yeah. I mean, one thing I've had like this difficulty with, and I've kind of like talked it through in therapy, is I'm actually like really the self-isolation, the space that it's giving me like more mental space, because I'm also so used to just being very indoors. And I feel a little guilty when others are having a hard time with it and I'm not. So I usually also, that's probably why I probably don't reach out as much, is because I'm taking advantage of this process that's happening with me of just like creating boundaries and like pretty much just thinking of myself first. That's kind of what this space is allowing me to do. So I think that that's like something that is hard to also speak on, especially if other people are not having such like that sort of a time with their space or having more difficulties with it. But like you said, Jeff, like I'm also not that outgoing of a person. Like I wouldn't be out for drinks anyway, so I'm not about to FaceTime and have drinks on Zoom with 30 other people, because that's not also something I would do any other time. And if so, I'm still going to leave like 2 minutes in.
Erica,
so I'm going to log out.
How about this? Can you imagine a scenario in which you started to date someone and then you moved in sort of quickly because the quarantine was happening and you were living with your new partner just like weeks or a month in?
This is just frightening. The more you talk about it.
Like, what happens if you don't like the person once you live with them?
I mean, I've thought about how it would be if I would have like isolated with someone. Like I was dating someone and we ended up isolating together. I could have only prayed that we had a 2-bedroom in case, so I could go into the other room or the other person could go into the other room at any time. I think it's just, that is such a difficult scenario to imagine, because I start getting anxiety and then I start getting annoyed as if I am in that scenario. But it's just, I can't. I don't know. I wonder if I would risk it and just be like, I'm out. Like, cause you guys know, like even at like events and parties, like once I need to leave, I leave. So I don't know what I would do if I was in a scenario where I couldn't leave for the sake of my health and other people's health. I feel like I would just like pick a spot in the apartment and be like, hey, so like whenever I don't want to talk to you,
this is my corner.
I'm gonna be over here.
That's like in the office when the Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yes, sorry, I just woke up Diego. That is exactly the scenario or the scene I was thinking about, where like Michael has actually 2 spots.
Yeah. Well, because one is his office.
Yeah.
He can't relax in his office.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Like I would choose 2 spots and be like, these 2 are mine. But I'm also like very aware that I could be maybe a little annoying or like cheesy. So I don't know if I would be open to someone telling me to go to my corner, but I would be open. I would be open to having a conversation of like, hey, maybe it's time for us to go to our like individual corners. But God. I feel like that would be something, at least on the spot right now, that I could think of that I would do, is I would follow in Michael's footsteps in a lot of things, especially in that scene. My gosh, that just gave me anxiety. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
What's something else that you're like working on within quarantine? Like, are you developing any other skills? Are you like learning to juggle? Are you
I wish.
Are you cooking?
I mean, I have been baking.
Oh.
And that's kind of happened a little like naturally, where I wanted like sweets and I needed to like figure out what I could do with what I had. So I like have baked like chocolate cake. I baked sour cream pound cake the other day.
How did it turn out?
It came out good, but I was kind of I have high expectations because I grew up on like this one sour cream pound cake that my mom used to buy. It was not as fluffy as that one, but it was still, I finished it in one day. So it was.
I talked to Erica, and Erica was like, it doesn't taste good, but I just ate half of it.
Yes. Do you know that meme where the girl takes a drink and she goes through like many phases, facial expressions of like, that is exactly what I went through when I made that pound cake. But I finished it. But besides baking, I've been like, it's so weird. I have like 4 cameras and I don't use any of them. And I started using one film camera the other week. I feel like what's hard for me is I feel like anything creative or that's connected to like creativity, if I take it on, I feel like I have to do more with it. Like I feel like I either have to like show this like skill off on social and be like, look what I did. Like I'm growing, I'm doing this. Or I have to like have some sort of output if I pick up some other creative skill. And I feel like that is something that I've been working on. I don't know. You know what I really think it's a little dark? I think it's money. I feel it's like I'm so used to building my career out of like creative outlets and like making money out of it that I almost feel like if I'm going to pick something up, I'm just like, well, maybe I could like make money out of this, or maybe I could like do this. And I think that's what it is. I think it's more just like survival.
That's
kind of kicks in.
That's really interesting. You know what? I promise I hadn't thought of this for the last month or however long we've been inside, right? Where it is this idea of social media as a way for other people to understand what you're doing, right? And like we've all been guilty of that. It's just like, oh, look at us, we're outside, or this is a new project we're hinting at, or like here's something just to show you that we're not sitting at home doing nothing, right? But here we all are sitting around, maybe doing nothing, maybe doing something. But I have never felt in these last number of weeks, the feeling, the need to put that out there to be like, hey, and by the way, we are doing something every day, so we are promoting that, but it's not like, hey, look how hard.
Yeah, but there's no pictures of us. I think it's too depressing to take pictures. Like I find it like, what am I taking a picture of? Like, I don't want to remember this time. Like this is not a good time. I think that when you talk about how you have 4 cameras sitting around, it's like, yeah, what are you going to take pictures of? Like the empty streets?
That's fine, fair, right? I was reading. There's an anchor. I don't know her last name. Oh, maybe it's Brooke Baldwin. I think
from
on
CNN.
Yeah. And I was reading. Did you see the post yesterday?
No.
So she had COVID, right? And she went through the most horrible 2 weeks of her life, and she documented it so that she would remember how she felt in that moment, right? Now, by the way, it could have ended up much worse than clearly she is doing right now, because she's alive and she's, recuperating.
Yeah.
But she wanted to know that, like, that was the bottom.
Well, no, but okay. And Erica, you might have something to say about this too, but like for the first day that we quarantined, I wrote a journal entry. But that was the only thing I wrote. I didn't go back day 2, day 3, none of it. I wrote day 1, and I was like, this is how I feel. And I was just like, it's so exhausting to spill all your feelings out in that way that I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I think that it just all depends on like if it's connected to what's going on, or how connected what you're doing is to what's going on. So like, I feel like the baking had nothing to do with me like wanting to keep busy or like not wanting to read the news. Like I was just like, I want to bake a cake, or I missed that like pound cake when I was a kid. I want to make that. So I feel like that's why, and I feel like versus the creative outlets has always been something that I've been a little like hesitant about, because I feel like this pressure of needing to like extend that outlet into like work like that. So it might be amplified because of what's going on, but like to tell you the truth, the photos that I've been taking have been photos that of flowers that Diego pees on. Like Diego loves peeing on flowers.
That's pretty apt, I think,
I mean, it's my little flower boy, but like so I'm like, I want to take photos of something that's like interesting, and I didn't want to see. This is what I mean. Like I overthink a lot of like creative skills.
So I agree with that.
In a perfect world where there are galleries and people have gallery openings and can be within 6 feet from each other, I think that a whole exhibit around those photos, like giant photos of flowers that your dog has peed on, would be phenomenal. And I would
just feel
I would go to the opening.
I would be there night
those
one.
Are my flowers. Like I feel bad if someone saw the photos and they're like, your dog has been the one that's been peeing on my flowers this entire time.
Yeah,
like,
next to the sign that says like,
put the address.
Curb your dog.
Keep the dog away.
Yes,
Erica.
He doesn't care. He can't read the sign, and if he did, he wouldn't care.
Why is your dog named Diego and not, as what the internet wanted, Rick Ross?
By the internet, you mean just you? Or I don't know, Eric, did you also want to
No, I did not advocate for it, but afterwards, once I heard about it, I was like, I'm not mad at the idea.
Well, it's funny because there was like a time where he didn't really know his name, so we would just call him anything. Osvaldo would like switch up his name all the time, depending on like once he had like when I first got him, he had like a little case of fleas because he's from shelter. Yeah. And like Osvaldo would just call him like Fleabag for a long time. And I'm like, don't call him that, because then he's going to think that's his name. So there's a little bit of time where you guys like made that joke during that time.
That was pretty funny.
And I think I called him that twice, and he like answer to one. And once he did that, I was like, never again. Never again am I going to try it.
My dog, Rick Ross.
Oh my! I'm so scared that when you guys visit, now we don't know when that will happen. But when you do visit,
we're going to retrain him to respond to Rick Ross. Absolutely.
We were talking to a friend recently about the party that you threw. You had a nice dinner party. It was a Taco Tuesday, and you billed it as a welcome to LA party for Eric and Jeff, and that insinuated we were moving there,
which we were not.
But I love that was the sort of bigger idea, and it was sold as that, and it was like, oh no, you're not moving here? No.
All right, so listen, that's also very much indication as to like answering your question of have I been FaceTiming with people. I kick people out very early on when they're at my house, and I only do taco night like once every 4 months. So it shows you how okay I'm at like being alone these days.
Well, but listen,
I did say in the email that you guys were hosting it, which is also you guys
true.
Did not know.
Yeah, like it was all a surprise
because you guys did not know and agreed to it. But I needed the pressure to be taken off of me. So I appreciate you guys hosting without knowing.
Well, Erica, we love you. Take care of yourself out there. Take care of Diego and take care of those flowers. Stay inside as much as you can and stay creative. And we're looking forward to everything that you're going to put out. Do you want to give the people your Patreon real quick?
Yes, it's patreon.com/IllyMag. IllyMag is a site also if you want to check it out.
ILYMAG.
ILY, yes. Thank you guys. Thanks for like also checking in offline. I appreciate that a lot.
No problem. Erica, we love you.
I'm a great friend is what I want people to know.
You guys are great friends. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys for like just like simply just messaging and seeing my like cries on Twitter and just like texting and being like, are you okay? Spelled just with like the letters, are you okay? Like
I think you're confusing me for somebody else. Wait, do you have other friends that you think I am?
No.
Erica, we'll talk to you soon.
Don't ever change. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye. Shout out to Erica Ramirez. Shout out to Chase B. And shout out to Division. Jeff, I'll be back tomorrow.
We are back every day forever.
As always, guys, not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.